By the edge of a quiet village, where the sea kissed the shore, lived a humble fisherman named Elias. His days were simple, shaped by the rhythm of the tides. Each morning, he would mend his worn nets, row his small boat into the shimmering waters, and cast his lines with practiced hands. By afternoon, he'd return with his catch, sharing it generously with his neighbors. Elias wasn't a man of wealth, but he was rich in the ways that mattered. He had the laughter of children echoing through the village, the gratitude of families who relied on his fish, and the quiet satisfaction of a day's honest work. Still, on nights when the moon hung low, he would gaze at the stars and wonder if life held more, a fleeting thought, quickly replaced by gratitude for what he had. Little did he know, the sea was about to offer him a gift that would change everything. The morning sun rose lazily over the horizon, its golden light spilling across the calm sea. Elias pushed his small boat into the water, the familiar creak of wood and the splash of waves against the hull soothing his thoughts. He rowed to his usual spot, where the fish were plentiful, and cast his nets with a practiced hand. The sea was generous today, and the nets grew heavy quickly. As he pulled them in, something unusual caught his eye. Nestled among the glistening fish and strands of seaweed was a small, smooth stone. But this was no ordinary pebble. It sparkled in the sunlight, refracting light into dazzling colors that danced across the boat's weathered planks. Elias picked it up, his calloused fingers trembling slightly. The stone was cool to the touch, its surface flawless. Could it be a diamond? He'd heard tales of such treasures, but they belonged to kings and merchants, not simple fishermen. His mind raced. If it was real, it could change everything, not just for him but for the entire village. He imagined new nets, sturdy boats, and a school where the children could learn to read and write. Clutching the stone tightly, Elias turned his boat toward shore, his heart pounding with a mix of excitement and uncertainty. The sea had given him a gift, but its true value was still a mystery. Elias's footsteps echoed through the narrow dirt paths of the village as he made his way to Old Man Thaddeus's hut. The diamond, or whatever it was, felt heavy in his pocket, as if it carried the weight of all his hopes and fears. The villagers waved as he passed, but he barely noticed. His mind was a whirlwind of questions. What if it wasn't a diamond? What if it was just a trick of the light, a foolish dream? He needed answers, and Thaddeus was the only one who could provide them. The sage's hut stood at the edge of the village, nestled beneath the shade of an ancient oak tree. Smoke curled from the chimney, carrying the scent of herbs and incense. Elias hesitated at the door, his hand hovering over the rough wood. Taking a deep breath, he knocked. The door creaked open, revealing Thaddeus, his face lined with age but his eyes sharp and knowing. "Elias," he said, his voice warm but tinged with curiosity. "What brings you here today?" Elias pulled the stone from his pocket and held it out, his palm trembling slightly. "I found this in my net this morning. I thought it might be a diamond. But I don't know. Can you tell me what it is?" Thaddeus took the stone and held it up to the light, turning it slowly. The sunlight caught its surface, scattering tiny rainbows across the walls of the hut. For a long moment the sage said nothing, his expression unreadable. Finally, he handed the stone back to Elias. "It is a stone," he said simply. Elias's heart sank. "So it's worthless." Thaddeus shook his head, a faint smile playing on his lips. "Not worthless. Its value lies not in what it is, but in what you choose to do with it. A diamond can make a man rich, but it can also make him greedy. A stone can build a home, feed a village, or teach a lesson. The choice is yours, Elias." The words hung in the air, heavy with meaning. Elias stared at the stone in his hand, his mind racing. What was he supposed to do? Thaddeus placed a hand on his shoulder. "Take your time. The sea gave you this gift for a reason. Listen to it." With that, Elias stepped back into the sunlight, the sage's words echoing in his mind. The stone felt different now. Not just a treasure but a test. Elias wandered through the village, the stone still clutched in his hand. Thaddeus's words echoed in his mind. Its value lies not in what it is, but in what you choose to do with it. The weight of the decision pressed on him. He could keep the stone, try to sell it, and chase the dream of wealth. Or he could use it to help the village, the people who had always shared their bread and laughter with him. As he passed the marketplace, he noticed the worn nets of the other fishermen, patched and frayed from years of use. He saw the children playing barefoot in the dirt, their laughter bright but their futures uncertain. The village was his home, and its struggles were his own. An idea began to form. What if the stone could be traded for something more useful than gold? Something that would benefit everyone. He approached a traveling merchant who was packing up his cart. "I have something to trade," Elias said, holding out the stone. The merchant's eyes widened as he examined it. "This is a rare gem," he said. "What do you want for it?" "New nets," Elias replied without hesitation. "And tools. Enough for the whole village." The merchant raised an eyebrow but nodded. "It's a fair trade." As the merchant handed over the supplies, Elias felt a strange sense of peace. The stone was gone, but its true value was just beginning to unfold. Word of Elias's trade spread quickly through the village. By the next morning, the fishermen gathered at the shore, their eyes wide with wonder as they examined the new nets and tools. The nets were strong and finely woven, unlike anything they had ever used. The tools were sturdy, promising easier repairs and better catches. Elias stood among them, a quiet smile on his face. "These are for all of us," he said. "Let's see what we can do with them." The change was immediate. The new nets caught more fish, and the tools made their work faster and more efficient. The fishermen returned each day with boats full of glistening fish, enough to feed the village and trade with neighboring towns. The children laughed as they helped clean the catch, and the women sang as they prepared meals for everyone. Over time, the village began to thrive. The extra fish were traded for seeds, and soon small gardens sprouted around the huts. The villagers built a new meeting hall, where they gathered to share stories and dreams. Even the children began to learn, as the elders taught them to read and write using scraps of parchment. Elias watched it all with a quiet pride. The stone was gone, but its value had multiplied 100-fold. The village was no longer just surviving, it was flourishing. And it all started with a single choice. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon and painted the sky in shades of orange and purple, Elias sat by the shore, watching the waves roll in. The village was alive with laughter and music, a sound that filled his heart with warmth. Thaddeus approached, his walking stick tapping softly against the sand. "You've done well, Elias," the sage said, his voice gentle but firm. "The stone is gone, but its true value lives on in the life you've given this village." Elias nodded, his gaze fixed on the horizon. "I thought wealth was about gold and gems. But now I see it's about people, about community. The stone was just a tool. The real treasure was always here." Thaddeus smiled. "And now you understand. True riches are not measured in what you have, but in what you give." As the stars began to twinkle above, Elias felt a deep sense of peace. The sea had given him a gift, but the greatest gift of all was the lesson it taught him. "Thank you," he said. She nodded. "Now go. The journey ahead is yours to make." And with that, Sam walked forward, ready to embrace his newfound strength. Now tell us below your vision of the parable, if it was easy and if you want to see any others here. Thank you for getting here. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any more new videos. Until next time, bye.